A few months ago, there was a great success for freedom of religion. Trinity Western University won its court case against the Nova Scotia Barristers Society. If you recall, Trinity Western is a Christian-themed school, a university in BC that wants to open up a secular law school, but the school will remain under Christian principles. The barristers, that is the lawyers of Nova Scotia, banned them because they were too Christian and had a moral code they said was not appropriate for Nova Scotia. Well, Nova Scotia's court overturned that ban. That was the good news. Here's the bad news. The same lawsuit in Ontario, well, the Divisional Court of Ontario sided with the Law Society of Upper Canada, keeping the ban on Trinity Western University students there. Joining us now from Calgary is one of the lawyers who intervened on behalf of Trinity Western University, our friend John Carpay of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. John, great to see you again.
Good to see you, Ezra.
You know, that's the nature of a federation like ours. You have 10 provinces and 3 territories. You've got one court in Nova Scotia saying it's religious discrimination and discrimination based on freedom of association to ban Trinity Western Law School students from Nova Scotia. And then a few months later, you have the exact opposite ruling in Ontario, where the court, a 3-judge panel, says, no, that's justifiable discrimination. How can these two both be right? Do you think this is going to have to be sorted out by our Supreme Court in the end?
Well, it sure looks like it's going to head towards the Supreme Court of Canada, because now we've got appeals in both provinces. In Nova Scotia, it's the Barristers Society which lost, which is appealing. And in Ontario, Trinity Western University has announced that it is appealing. And the third action in British Columbia is going to be heard in August, with a decision expected in the fall. So yeah, this looks like a case, especially with these conflicting different decisions, it could make its way up to the very top.
Now, this is pure politics. I read the case in Ontario, and it was written like a political speech as much as a legal speech. Oh, yes, there were references to court cases, but it is clear that the court has a definite ideology, and that's what they were appealing to there. Well, you've carefully read the case in Ontario. Is there something in particular that stands out to you as being legally wrong? Now, I know you've got to be proper and polite because you're before the court yourself as a lawyer, but respecting your role as an officer of the court, looking at the ruling from the Divisional Court of Ontario, was there something that stuck out to you as something that you would consider appealing?
Well, the main thing there's so many things that are wrong with it, but the biggest one that jumps out is just a complete misunderstanding of discrimination. And they misunderstood in 2 ways. First of all, they've tried to paint Trinity Western University as singling out gays and lesbians for discrimination, and that's simply not true. Trinity Western legitimately discriminates against anybody and everybody who doesn't want to study there. And there's a lot of people in Canada, I would venture the majority of students would not want to attend a Christian university that has a code of conduct where you agree to abstain from drunkenness and viewing pornography, sex outside of marriage, and on and on. There are non-Christians there. There's Muslims and Jews and atheists that are welcome to attend Trinity, but by and large, most non-Christians I don't think would want to go to Trinity Western University. But the court calls this discrimination. But what they're losing sight of is the fact that every voluntary association in Canada, whether it's a charity, an ethnic association, a cultural association, every association discriminates. The federal Liberal Party discriminates against pro-life candidates, as it's entitled to do. It's a voluntary association. It makes its own rules. And the court's reasoning is really dangerous because it basically says that you and I and everybody else, we've got some sort of a right to force our own personal opinions on organizations that we disagree with to make them conform to majority opinion. And that's dangerous for all Canadians. It's not just about Trinity Western.
Yeah, and right now, this is being done in the name of gay rights, that gay rights that are in conflict with traditional Christian views can trump those. But, the shoe fits both feet. You could theoretically say, well, a traditional Christian group could foist itself into a gay pride parade in Toronto and have an anti-gay message there. Everyone, birds of a feather flock together. And just like some gay rights groups would not want anything to do with Christians and vice versa, you've got to have a standard that everyone else can have. I mean, the Black Students Union, the NAACP, surely they have just as much right to say, well, you got to be black to join us, as the Jewish Students Club, as the Muslim Students Club. I mean, people like to go, common affiliations based on religion or sports or whatever. I think it's dangerous when the court says we're going to smash one group because we don't like it, because that sets a precedent to destroy all associations.
And you have to remember too, Ezra, that the Law Society of Upper Canada, which just won the court case last week, they have admitted that there's nothing wrong with the law school program at Trinity Western University. It was approved by the Federation of Canadian Law Societies, which is kind of a body consisting of all the law societies. Nobody disputes that Trinity Western is going to do a good job teaching criminal law, contract law, tort law, constitutional law, et cetera, et cetera. And they admit this. They admit that there's nothing left wanting in Trinity Western's program, but what they object to is a university that has a traditional moral code of conduct, which is not imposed on anybody. The only people who adopt it are those who choose to study there.
I know some people in Toronto who went to a Jewish-themed law school in New York called Yeshiva University. There's a Mormon school in Utah called Brigham Young. There are surely Muslim-themed law schools in Pakistan and Egypt, and those people practice law here if they just pass the bar exam and article. It is striking to me that only one group has been singled out this way. And what bugs me the most, John, is that this law school has not yet begun. There are no graduates from it. And so they are being prejudged in every way. It's not like some young man or some young woman is unethical or disreputable or would be a bad lawyer. This is the pure definition of prejudice, prejudging someone. These people don't even exist yet. They aren't even students yet. They haven't done anything wrong yet. They haven't been accused or tried yet. But in advance, these benchers in Ontario say we don't want them because they would have taken upon themselves a religious moral code. It's so blatant, the discrimination. You could only get away with it being an anti-Christian discriminator. You tried this with Jews or Muslims or gays, people would laugh you off the bench. It's only anti-Christian discrimination that seems to have a foothold here. Am I right?
It seems to be the case. And the other inconsistent thing with the Law Society is that they don't have any qualms with existing Ontario lawyers, include Christians and Muslims and Orthodox Jews, people who are opposed to same-sex marriage, people who think that gay sex is sinful. There are currently lawyers with those views, and there's no evidence whatsoever that any Christian, Muslim, Orthodox, Jewish, or whatever other kind of religious lawyer has ever mistreated gay and lesbian clients. There's no evidence at all.
And if someone did, so complain against them. Don't blacklist a whole group. Hey, John,
exactly.
We're almost out of time, but I want to tell you that we love having you on the show at the Old Sun News Network and here on TheRebel.media. This is one of the causes. We fight for a lot of causes, John. We crowdfund for different things every week. But one of the things our people believe in so deeply is freedom of religion. And we find it so frustrating that lawyers are trying to blackball Christians from the court, literally the court. Now, we've sent you some dough. I want to confirm for our viewers, have you received the recent checks we've sent you in the mail from our viewers?
Yes, and thank you very much, Ezra, and thanks to all the people that have donated that way to what Justice Center is doing in the court actions. Thank you.
So the last 3 checks, I think, totaled $12,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Well, listen, that is money well spent from my point of view. I chipped in a little bit of that. The vast majority of the credit goes to our viewers. John, we're sending you this money because you are our top gun in court. You're one of the few lawyers in Canada that fights in the public interest for the liberty side of things. We're going to send you some more money because we've raised a little bit since I've sent you those checks. If folks haven't chipped in yet, please go to therealbigots.com. That's a weird website, but I call these discriminators in the law societies, I call them the real bigots because they keep pointing fingers at everyone else. They're the ones who are blacklisting people. So folks, if you haven't chipped in to John yet, you could obviously go directly to his website or come to therealbigots.com where we have all our videos and all the information if you want to catch up on this story. John, we're going to send you a check. I'll wait for the rest of the week to collect whatever dough comes in. Then I'll cut you another check. It's a great pleasure to me to be one of your helpers, because you're helping all of us. Last word to you, John.
Well, we can hope for the best. We'll in all three court actions, and hopefully the wisdom that was displayed by the judge in Nova Scotia is going to ultimately be the wisdom, and we're going to see courts upholding our fundamental freedoms. That's the goal, and that's what we're striving towards.
Right on. John Carpay of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. We'll catch up with you when there's more news on this important issue. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.